Mr. Barr has demonstrated he can make tough decisions. It was this nominee who, as acting Attorney General, orchestrated a pre-dawn prison rescue that freed 9 hostages with no loss of life. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Barr's background and experience will serve him well in this position. He received a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1971, a Master's degree in 1973 from Columbia University. In 1977, he earned a law degree from George Washington University Law School. During law school, Mr. Barr served in the intelligence section, the Office of Legislative Counsel of the Central Intelligence Agency, after which he served as a law clerk to the Honorable Malcolm Wilkie of the United States Court of Appeals District of Columbia Circuit. From 1978 to 1982, he was an associate with a law firm, Shaw, Pittman, Potts, and Trowbridge. Mr. Barr then served as a deputy assistant director of the Office of Policy Development in the executive office under President Reagan. He rejoined the law firm of Shaw, Pittman, Potts, and Trowbridge as a partner in 1983. In 1989, Mr. Barr was nominated and confirmed as Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legal Counsel in the Department of Justice. In 1990, he was confirmed as the Deputy Attorney General. President Bush has now nominated Mr. Barr to serve as the nation's chief law enforcement officer.
William Barr is not a member of President Bush's political or personal inner circle. He is not part of the President's political brain trust. He is not a politician or a former politician who brings political clout to this position or carries political weight in one of the 50 states. William Barr is just a lawyer's lawyer. That's all. President Bush's nomination of Mr. Barr is one more example that persons with talent and merit can and do rise to the top of our country. Talent, merit, and performance are the only reasons William Barr sits before us today as acting Attorney General and as nominee to become Attorney General. So I commend the President for this fine nomination, and I congratulate you, Mr. Barr, for your sterling record. After 2 degrees from Columbia University, William Barr went to work for the Central Intelligence Agency, attended law school at night for 4 years, and obtained his law degree from George Washington University. And after clerking for Judge Malcolm Wilkie of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, he became an associate at Shaw, Pittman, Potts, and Trowbridge here in Washington. And for a year and a half in the first Reagan term, Mr. Barr served as Deputy Assistant Director of the Office of Policy Development. And I hope I will not embarrass Mr. Barr when I pause to marvel at his rise from a relatively obscure federal position to this nomination 8 years later to the #1 legal position in the executive branch. And this rise is nothing short of phenomenal. In between, Mr. Barr became a partner at his former law firm. He was tapped to become Assistant Attorney General for Legal Counsel in 1989. I have to say his performance there merited his promotion to Deputy Attorney General, and his conduct in that office has continued to be impressive, and he is now before us as the President's nominee to become Attorney General of the United States. Will he be tough enough when the situation calls for it? As acting Attorney General faced with an inmate uprising and hostage-taking at a prison in Alabama, he exhibited sound judgment, courageous leadership, and took the tough action that was necessary when the chips were down. I will close by quoting from an unlikely source, the New York Times editorial page, because it had some kind words for Mr. Barr. Here's part of what the October 20th, 1991 editorial said. William Barr is an able and energetic lawyer who has already displayed strong loyalty to his client in the White House. In various high-ranking Justice Department jobs, he has boosted the administration's hardline crime legislation and endorsed its view of executive power, unquote. Perhaps the New York Times viewed this latter comment as a criticism, but I regard it as a compliment. The editorial continued in part. As acting Attorney General this summer, Mr. Barr made key decisions under pressure that led to the rescue of hostages in the uprising at the Talledaga prison in Alabama.
You've also served with distinction as Deputy Attorney General, bringing into that office at a time when morale was in the department was not so high, a leadership that was badly needed. Your performance in that job was so successful that when the position of Attorney General became vacant, President Bush nominated you to be acting Attorney General rather than waiting to name a permanent replacement. I think of the time that prior to your work, serving in various capacities in government with the CIA and the White House as preparing you well for your job. The fact that you had to work hard attending law school at night, practicing law in the private sector before coming to the Justice Department, all bringing you bringing a great deal of diversity of legal experience to this new position. The President's confidence in naming you as Acting Attorney General is well justified. For as Acting Attorney General, you have shown outstanding leadership. 3 days in the job, you faced that major crisis at Talledaga with the federal prison there. You didn't avoid taking risks to protect your chances for the job that you now hold, nor did you take any unnecessary risks with the lives of the hostages with the hopes of advancing a career. You acted decisively and responsibly to maximize chances for success in freeing the hostages without causing death or serious injury. And of course, in this respect, all that you did was successful.
Now, there are a number of issues I'm going to discuss with you during the hearing. First, incidentally, let me join with those who commended you on handling the Talledaga hostage incident. We've discussed this in private, and you know the high regard I have for your handling of that. Your judgment and willingness to make a tough decision during that crisis were exemplary.
Mr. Barr, your presence here is a testament to your wise and careful and judicious handling of the management of the Justice Department. It is not often, as others have said on this panel, that a young and relatively unknown acting Attorney General is chosen over more senior and well-known figures in the legal community to become the President's lawyer. And over the years, those people have consisted of the President's campaign managers, personal attorneys, down through the ranks of Democrat and Republican presidents. You have been selected in this case as a singularly different basis than many of the Democrat and Republican senators or presidents who have gone before, because this president has the utmost confidence in your judgment, your intelligence, your capabilities, your prudence. Your professional record is exemplary. A master's degree in Chinese studies, service in the Office of Legislative Counsel, LA. I won't go into those. Those have been covered. Ask those to be included in the record.
Without objection, they will be.
You have appeared before this committee twice before. You were confirmed without opposition to be the Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legal Counsel. You were later confirmed without opposition to be Deputy Attorney General. And I believe that speaks to your qualifications and your abilities, which all of us on this committee have recognized.